All right, we're live. Hello, guys. It's Two Guys T and D, and we're going to do our first impressions of the Shadowrun Quick Start rules. I haven't read them yet, so it is definitely first impressions because I've been reading textbooks all winter. But
geez, Harry, excuses.
But
you didn't do your homework.
It's a true. We're doing first impressions, so this is, haven't even read a word of it other than Shadowrun Quick Start rules.
First impressions, the Quick Start rules are very light. There's not a lot here. It's probably about, there's a little bit of fluff in here, very little fluff. I think it's like 2 pages where it actually talks about fluff, which is the wireless world that it takes place in. But what is it? It's about
31 pages.
Yeah, 31 pages, and that includes pre-gen characters and a little mini adventure.
Yeah, all for free on the Shadowrun website, which is linked in the description. So let me. I'll share my screen on the parts that I really need it. Just sort of go over a few things.
Right.
So I've read it, I know about Shadowrun a little bit, and I definitely like the concept of this sort of cyberpunk world, mega corporations, and I've seen a couple of videos on the roleplay channel, the JP, and is Adam Koval, I think that runs it.
Mirror Shades is a very good
Shades.
Series.
That's the one I've seen a couple of episodes, but they put out so much content I can't watch it all.
Right. Well, that series is mostly role play anyways. If you were watching to see the actual mechanics of Shadowrun playing out, I mean, they almost rarely are in combat situations, and when they do roll, it's really just like 1 or 2, 3 rolls in a session. So it's not a mechanic heavy series. My first impression really is Shadowrun is one of those games that I really want to like because I love the idea of melding like fantasy elements, fantasy races, fantasy magic with a more common or futuristic element of tech and that sort of thing in a more modern setting. I love that whole concept with the cyberpunk feel. Yeah. So I love that about this game. I think that when I was reading the quick start rules, I was like, man, yeah, I really like that. But then as I got further into the quick start rules and got more into the mechanics, especially around combat and magic, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, the formulas really start to get number crunchy.
Yeah.
And so my other impression was prepared to have a lot of dice, prepare to have combat really kind of, when combat happens in your games, unless you got a really experienced group, it's going to kind of slow rate down to a crunch. I could just see if I were running a game, it'd be like, okay, hold on. And I'd have to be like, all right, so we got to take this plus this. But I do think that maybe as you get more experience, it's something you could just do. You would probably you would just know, boom, boom. One of the nice things that they do in the quick start rules is with the pre-gen characters, they do a lot of that pre-math for you. So if you're going to shoot someone with a pistol your character has, they've already added your skill and your attribute together, so you know what your dice pool is.
Let me just do that now.
Yeah.
Right, just give it a second to pop up.
Yep.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is the like this submachine gun.
Right.
Then it tells you.
So the parenthesis number is the actual number of dice you would roll when you're using that submachine gun.
Yeah.
6. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's helpful, but I imagine making a character for the first time is probably quite a task. It's not like D&D. Comparing it to D&D, the character creation in D&D is very simple, quick. I mean, you can sort of pump out a character in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
On D&D? And jump right in. This seems a little bit more, you need to read more into the actual creation.
Well, another thing that is important, I think, to note is that in these quick start rules, they really don't tell you how to make a character. They talk about the different aspects that a character has, but they really don't talk about how to really make a character. I think that the expectation is that folks will go through the quick start, use the pre-gens, and then from there they will hopefully buy the 20th year anniversary core book that they're putting out. So this is what edition is this? I think
this is 5th edition.
5th edition of Shadowrun, and I've never played Shadowrun ever, so I can't compare it to any other editions. I was a little disappointed that they didn't give a way for people to actually make their own character if they wanted to kind of take that kind of plunge. I know when we covered the Call of Cthulhu,
they had a
quick
basic
start.
character creation.
Yeah, they gave you what you needed to at least make a basic character,
which I liked.
But
sorry about the chinking, everyone. I have rocks in my glass, literal rocks.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it just seems very very crunchy to me. So glancing through this,
combat is very crunchy. If you like more story driven, rules light games, probably Shadowrun is probably not the game for you. If you don't mind throwing handfuls of dice around, because your dice pool can get pretty large. You can have dice pools as large as 12, 14 D6 dice. It is a D6 system. It's skill based or kind of similar in some other systems out there like Fate or whatnot, that they have a set a threshold number. I think the threshold is 5. So what you would have to do is, and I think successes are based on a 5 or a 6 rolled from your dice pool. So
I quite like dice pool games. I mean, we played Mouse Guard with Chad, and that was a sort of a dice pool game, wasn't it?
Yep.
Although not as many as this, but I'm sure Mouse Guard could get up pretty high if you or a higher level.
Yeah. One of the things I guess I would say is have patience if you're going to run this game. Especially if you're going to be new, and just understand that there's a lot going on at any given time. Like with combat, when there's several things that are happening and have to be added. You have to review. There's a lot of tables involved. Like in combat, you have to adjust these modifiers that either give you add or take away die from your die pool. And then of course there's a lot of opposed. So if you hit someone with a melee weapon, they can defend, and then you have to figure out what your adjusted damage is versus their adjusted defense skill, and then you have tick marks for your physical or your I can't remember what they called it.
One thing I do like about this, however, is these boxes here, which I've highlighted, which go through. It looks like it goes through sort of what a typical combat round will look like.
Yep. Yes. I'm glad you point that out, Harry, because that is a really nice.
That's what I really like about any rule set. If it has an example written out in extended prose of going through exactly what you'd say, exactly what you'd do.
Yeah. I also do like. I do like the magic system. It does, like I said, I think it's crunchy, but I do like the way it kind of works. As someone that's awakened, they call it awakened if you have a magic ability. I also think too, it doesn't really cover it, I think, in these quick start rules, but I think if you are awakened, you can't use tech. Like, I don't think tech works if you're an awakened in Shadowrun. But it doesn't say that in here. I think I'm just going that off of something else I had heard.
That's cool. Right? I like that.
Like they couldn't use like a tape recorder to go into a meeting and record it. They would have to use someone else. But there's spell casting, and I also like that there's a counter spelling mechanic in the game where you can defend yourself, but you can also defend your other runners. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that counter spelling is a skill check by the looks of it as well. Unlike Is it D&D is it's a spell?
Yeah, it's based on spell level. If you count, you can.
You just
I think
burn the
you'll.
spell slot.
Yeah.
Which I mean is a simple way of counterspelling. I think it'd be a bit more interesting if it was a skill check for me, but yeah, no, I definitely like that. And again, it's got that nice box of exactly what you need to do.
Yeah, that's probably like in my top 5 of what I liked about the quick start rules is the boxes that they kind of talk about a mechanic and then they kind of give you an example, like walking you through how it would work. Now, when you read the example, I think for me it makes much more sense. Let me just get. I think I highlighted something here in one of the rules, and I was like, wow, this is what did I just read? Kind of a moment. It was around combat. The opposed skill rolls are pretty easy. Like if you were gonna like hide from someone and they were gonna see you, that was pretty easy. It's like your agility versus your like ability to sneak versus the other person's perception versus maybe their awareness. And that was pretty easy. You just roll and whoever has the highest hit. And so that was pretty easy to figure out. But combat got it, like I said, so I'm gonna read this from you. So this is after there's been like a hit. So then you have to compare armor, it says, add the net hit scored to the basic damage value of the attack. And the other thing it does too is it references a lot of pages through all these rules. So you're constantly flipping around in this as you're reading the rules. And it says, check page 12. This is a modified damage value. Determine the type of armor used to defend against the specific attack and apply the attack's armor penetration modifier. This is the modified armor value. If the attack causes physical damage, compare the modified damage value to the modified armor value. If the damage value does not exceed the armor, then the attack inflicts stun rather than physical damage. And it's just like, I read that a couple of times. I'm like, what the heck? Because they're like, yeah. And I'm sure anyone that would watch this video that's played some Shadowrun means like, dude, it's not really that hard. And I'm sure it's not if I were to play it. And they do, I think, to their credit, they do a little bit further in this. It seems like they put that before, but then a little bit further in the quick rules, they actually get a little bit more in depth around damage value, armor penetration, and that. It made a little bit more sense to me at that point. But as I was reading that in the combat sequence section, I was like, what the heck did I just read? So that I think is a good example of what we're talking about when we say crunch. There's a lot of crunch going on.
Yeah, I think for me, my like style of learning is I need to either listen to something or read something, then write notes. Read the notes, then throw them out, listen to it again, write notes, throw it out, and just And I think I'm going to have to go through this quick start rule and just take all the bits out that I need, read it all again, and throw it away. That's, I think you have to break down.
Right. So typically I would read a rule set like this and I'd be like, all right. And I'd already be like planning a couple of one shots. I'm a little gun shy on this one because it is more crunchy. But I would say this, if you really want to try out Shadowrun, and I do want to try Shadowrun out, if you could find someone that's run the game before, I think that's would be really helpful, and they're patient enough to take on some new players, because I think you'll be rewarded for it for sure. Yeah. And if you're all new and you say, what the heck, we want to try this out, just be patient, take the time, just realize maybe that first session is going to be really slow and not much is going to happen because there's going to be a lot of reference to rules. And they actually recommend that you actually physically write down the formulas as you're doing them to help kind of train yourself, kind of like you were saying, Harry. I mean, I learned best from doing anyways, so that's why I would probably want to do it. So my first impressions is give the game a shot. If you don't like crunchy games, it's probably going to be no surprise that you're not going to like this game. But if you don't mind throwing some dice around, and I don't mind throwing some dice around, this might be a fun game. I like the fact that dice can really, there's a lot of variance here. So,
I will eventually be running games after my January exams. Yeah, and we'll get some new people. We'll all be new, so it doesn't matter. See if we can find somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right.
Just to sort of help us out a little bit. But if not, we'll just stumble around blind in the dark and see what happens.
Right. Well, I think probably the first thing that I would do is I would run the little mini scenario in the quick start rules.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It makes most sense. It's a nice little adventure.
This thing that I won't show. Fast food fight. Yeah, that adventure. Which looks not too bad. Yeah, it's only a few pages long, and then it's straight into the 4 characters. And a nice... Oh, that's good. I definitely like this. I've just noticed. A GM screen.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They do include a GM screen at the back that has several of the tables they talk about. And they also really encourage GMs to kind of be creative and
oh, bugger.
kind of going with the scenario, you know, what's going on. So
that is handy that it just sort of threw that in there. I like that.
Yeah. If you look at the difficulty, you just
I broke it.
But there was a difficulty table up there, and it really tells you kind of what the threshold numbers. So they're called hits in Shadowrun, and a hit is when you get a 5 or a 6. So that kind of gives you that threshold of where what a player would need to get to succeed.
Let me just...
There's another thing they call them. What do they call them? They call them. It's like it's the equivalent of like rolling a 1 on a D20 system. But if you get more than half, if you get more than half of your rolls, you roll a 1, then you get a glitch, and a glitch can be like be anything. Like you could still succeed because you might have enough hits to succeed, but maybe you might trigger the silent alarm even as you disabled it, or something like that. Or maybe as you disable it, a guard walks in. So, you know, they really encourage game masters and players to be really creative in what the glitch might be. So
I think there's a game that does that. Dungeon World, I think, does that. Obviously, the Burning Whales.
Yeah, it's another D6 system. So they do it a little bit different. Like this partial success is what you're talking about. So I might have rolled in that partial success area in Dungeon World, and when I do that, so I might still get done what it is, but I might offer you a consequence. Like, okay, you can hit the creature, but you're gonna slip and fall after. Yeah, and or something like that. And but which was one of the reasons I like Dungeon World. So I like a game that doesn't necessarily, you don't always fail. And what's really it is really nice about this game is you can succeed while still having some sort of like some kind of in real world game consequence. So it's not like so like clean.
Yeah. It's, although by the looks of this Game Master screen, it's all just modifiers, dice modifiers. It's all dice modifiers.
Yeah, it's a crunch game.
It's yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to run it because I like the lore of the world. Although I recommend, I think there's games of Shadowrun, which I might just play before I do any GMing. But other than that, I think the only lore is this, which I've had to rotate the whole document so I could look at the Dungeon Master screen. But I think this is the only lore in the book. These 2 paragraphs or 2 columns.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
That's just, I think, a summary of the world anyway.
Yeah, I'm probably just going to dive right in. Run a couple of 1-shots, not even play. I'll just put the caveat out there to the players that I'm new to running this, but that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. And
I will eventually do the same.
Yeah, and maybe I will be able to get one of my players as someone with some experience. I was able to do that in one of my Call of Cthulhu games, and it was awesome. It was a guy that had run quite a bit of Call of Cthulhu, and it was helpful because he was able to kind of like co-DM with me as we were playing, but in a way that it really didn't impact the actual game we were playing. So it was really helpful. So I could cross my fingers and hope for that.
Yeah.
Anyways, Shadowrun. it's a thumb up, thumb down for me, for sure. I think that there's many elements about it I like, and some that I'm not so much. So
yeah, I'm not a big crunchy guy because my just brain doesn't usually function with maths. So it's yeah, I like the look of it, but it'll need some more work my side just to learn the rules, I think. Right. So right, that's Two Guys Tea and D&D, and that's our first impressions of Shadowrun 5th edition. See you guys next time.